Hi guys. So it's been a long time since I've made a video about anything. There was a little bit of backlash from the first video. Somebody set up a poll on one of the local Facebook pages here, asking if I was telling the truth or just being a whiny baby. So, like I said, it's the area. Some of the people here. I've noticed I've been kind of socially blacklisted for some things that I said about the country club and the hospital. And honestly, I don't know everybody, but the people that I have come in contact with, not all of them, but some of them that are, especially that country club, aren't the nicest people. So my feeling is if you found offense in something I said, then maybe you need to take a deeper look in the mirror at yourself, because I obviously touched on something. But anyway, so I kind of backed off from doing the videos for a while because of that, and I was kind of, scared. But I'm not going to be scared, because that just defeats the purpose of telling my story and using my voice. So some of you know from my post yesterday. Yesterday was a moment, I guess, for me. I visited a home that I lived in with my mother and sisters, and a very, very sick man. I refer to him as Satan. His name was Raymond Nelson Stock. Spike was what he was called. Anyway, so it brought back a lot of memories for me and some realizations last night that were really kind of hard to deal with this morning until I went to church. And I don't know, I just feel a calmness about me now. So I'm going to start sharing my story with you guys. I'm not doing it for sympathy. It's really just to heal myself. I can't write it down because it's too painful for me to see the words as I write it. So I figured I'd make a video, because then that way I have to watch it. And I know from doing the first sets of videos that it really helps me therapeutically, especially with Michael's, and it helps me move past a lot of that. So I'm hoping to do the same with these videos. I will warn you that my story isn't pleasant. I really don't know by telling you where it's going to lead me mentally. I know I'm a lot stronger, and I know that I need to deal with it and get it out so that I can move on with the next part of my life. I'm going to be 39 on the 7th. So, so I figured I'd start my story and share it with you. So my name is Roger Merrill. I am 38 right now. I will be 39 in 9 days. I was born in Longview, Washington at the Monticello Hospital, which is no longer a hospital, but the building is still there. The first 4 or 5 years of my life, my parents were married until I was about 2. My mother had an affair with my uncle. My father, I was told, had affairs too. So it just was, they were young. My dad was 22. My mom was 17. They got a divorce. It was messy. My dad kidnapped me and took me to California. My mom finally found me. And then her and her new husband at the time, which was my sister's dad. So I'm the only child of my 2 parents. They both have sets of girls from other wives. So my mom got me back. I came back to Washington. My mom was very beautiful, and she liked the attention. So I got left a lot, my sisters and I too, with relatives. My mom liked to go out and party and do her own thing. So when I was about 4, for some reason we moved to Louisiana. I think, I don't remember everything, and I have gotten some facts from family members. I've done some digging into my past, because my mother has selective memory when it comes to things. So anyway, so we moved to Louisiana. I remember living in Louisiana. I was about 4. I remember everything. My grandmother passed away She was killed here in town in a really bad car accident. I think it's third now, up in front of the Canterbury. She was practically decapitated. The semi trucks used to park their trucks there, with no lights, reflections, anything like that. So their car went under, and my grandma passed away. Well, my grandma came to me that night in Louisiana. And I don't really care what you think about this because I remember it. She came to me. She rocked me in the rocking chair we had in the living room, and she put me back in bed. I don't remember our conversation, but I remember the next morning telling my stepdad that my grandma was dead, and he got upset with me, and said that's not very nice to say. And then there was a knock on the door, and it was a police officer, and my mom left and came back, and my grandmother had passed away. So my mother, we were poor. I've always been poor. I grew up poor. I'm just creative. I know how to spend my money well. Big thrift shop person. So my mother came back to Longview, and we stayed in Louisiana with my stepfather. Well, I got really sick, and he didn't have custody, so the state took me away, and I spent some months in a foster home in Louisiana. By then, my mother had filed for divorce from him and gotten my sisters back, but was fighting with the state of Louisiana for me. So I remember being in the foster home. They were nice people. They had two sons, one in college, one in high school. He was a police officer. She was a stay-at-home mom. She was very creative. So I've always been nurtured in the creative part of my life, from just people around me. So I remember one day, a man from the state came and asked if I wanted to stay with them or come home because they wanted to adopt me, which is a theme throughout my life. Even as a child, my aunts and uncles wanted to adopt me because my mom loved me so much, and then she would take me away from them because of it, and it was just a lot of fighting, and I felt torn in between things because I was just a child who needed a parent, and I had a parent who couldn't be one. So, so this is where my life went to hell. So I was 5. I came back here to Longview. The first night there was fighting because of the color of my skin. My father is Native American and very dark himself. I'm not dark right now. It's winter. I don't really have a tan. But as a child, I was a lot darker. Dark hair, dark eyes. So the word nigger, and I apologize if I offend anybody by using it, was thrown at me from the get-go. On top of the fact that I was a quiet child, kind of prissy-ish, I guess. I didn't like to get dirty, I was a gay child. So the fighting between the two of them is what really started. I remember dreams I had about somebody doing something to me and then waking up and he's there. I'm sure I was molested by him. I know I was molested by his son for 6 years. And I know his son was being molested probably by him too. But I didn't keep my mouth shut. I was a tattle kid. So, this to a predator, they don't like that. So I got beat a lot. I got beat a lot. I got called names, cruel punishments. So this went on for 6 years. And I was 5 to 11. The fights would be horrible. My mom would scream for me to go get help, and I wouldn't leave because I knew if I did, my mom would probably get killed. That's how bad these fights were. I remember we would run. My mom would grab her purse, and we would run to bedrooms, and it would take all of us to sit with our feet on one wall and the back on the other while he was screaming to get in, and knives would come through the door, and just, the man's a psychopath. It was really horrible. he was raping my sister. For me, this is the hardest part because I am the oldest and the big brother, and I couldn't protect her. So from the age of 3 to 9 or 10, this was happening to her, and probably my little sister, who really doesn't have very many memories, but has had nightmares. So, sorry, I have to work through this. Please, just bear with me. So, my mom would get away from him periodically, and usually it was to another man. My mom's the kind of woman who can't be without one, and those are her words, not mine. But he would find us, and for some reason, she would go back to him. One time, he stabbed himself in the leg like 40 times because she left. So I don't know exactly what the dynamics of their relationship was. I know that he was abusive to her, and I know the first time they went on a date, he raped her and told her if she left, he'd kill her. And the "I'm gonna kill you" was part of my daily life. I mean, we lived in that kind of fear. So, like I said, 6 years that went on. I was molested by his son. His son was with us every other weekend, and then 2 weeks out of the summer. So when my mom finally was able to leave him, I was 11, and my sister's father came back into the picture. And I remember the day we moved. He left, and we left, and we moved far away, and he found us, of course. But we left the house that I went into yesterday, which was bittersweet, I guess. I went in nervous. I had a panic attacks all day yesterday. I left happy. It was okay. The energy in that home is completely different because it is somebody's home now. It's not the place it was. It wasn't a home when I was little. But the bathtub was hard for me. I remember twice he made me bathe him, and it didn't really click until last night because my aunt told me that she stopped letting my cousin come over because he tried to drown him in the tub. So this is the part right now I'm kind of having a hard time with, because last night it occurred to me that that's probably what he was trying to do to me. He didn't like me. He didn't like the color of my skin. He didn't like that I was gay. He didn't like that my mother babied me. She made me food without onions. He didn't like that, so I had to eat a whole onion. This was the mental shit that I went through in my home as a child, and then growing up with no safe place because I couldn't go to school without getting picked on. I couldn't even walk out my front door without neighbors making a comment or calling me a little fag or something. So I became, I went inwards, I guess. After my mom left him, my mother had 2 mental breakdowns in the relationship with him. I've talked to aunts and uncles, and some say my mother knew what was going on. Some say they don't think she knew. Some say they don't see how she couldn't have known. I honestly think my mother did know some things. And this might sound horrible to some of you, but I don't blame my mother as much as I should, I guess, because I know what he did to her. The most painful part of all this for me is the pain that it caused my family.